Hey guys, how's it going? RedMaster here, and welcome back to the Cards and Castles Cast and Conflicts, where today we've got another great match lined up for you. So without dragging on this intro too long, let's go ahead and jump right into game number one and see what goes down. Alright folks, welcome back to another Casting Conflicts here. Of course, we've got Tabbune taking on bolas here. I feel like I'm going to say his name wrong, but he'll yell at me later for that. Anyway, Viking Crusader taking on Warlock Ninja here, and we've got Vasavan on commentary with me. Vasa, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It looks like we've got Tabbune playing his standard War Party deck,
Oh, and
and
having
we're
trouble.
we're looking forward to a good match right here.
We're going to try. I mean, unfortunately, not so good in Tab's opener here. Bricking 3 Dramoths, but does pull the War Party. War Party going to be what, well, Tab is known for at this point, his, one-trick pony deck. But I'm kind of excited to see what Bolas brings to the table here. Of course, not many people may, understand what Bolas is running yet. So I'm curious to see what he brings to the table here. What are your thoughts, though, when you see the Warlock Ninja?
Right. Well, the first thing I think about with Warlock Ninja would be an Awakened deck, but we see the Arcanon, and another option for Warlock Ninja would be kind of a spell-based deck. Might run a lot of fears. Might run the what's tell me, Red. What's the one cost ninja spell that shifting technique
Yeah, the one
that
that
draws the
gains the
card?
minor spells. Yeah, shifting tech.
Yeah. So it's either Awaken or kind of the shifting technique deck that are the first thing that come to my mind.
Right. Well, we are seeing a bit more of that potential shifting technique side of things, considering Arcanon has grown to a big size there already, going up to 8/8, and it'll all be boosted thanks to Tab's use of the Divine Knowledge here. I really think Tab might have the upper edge here, just because if he can stall out the game long enough, we see he can potentially drop 3 Dramoths in one turn, and that's going to be extremely big for him.
Right. And I see that Tabbune is in a good stall position, but we're going to see the Wizard getting taken out this turn.
Oh, not just the
Okay.
Wizard, probably the
We're
Cultist
going to
as
get the
well.
Blue Firebolt, and then we should also see the Ghost taken out as well.
Right.
And I actually like Bolas's position with that big 10/10 Arcanon Magic Eater.
Oh, he's
Um,
really pushing that in there.
yeah, I really like Bolas's position right here.
I mean, this could be a potential game ender in the slightest here. We do note that Tab has no, units to throw out here. Forced to use the Divine Knowledge, blocking with Vicious Sunflower. If he does get to turn 9, or if he gets 9 gold, he wins just purely based off a Yenneroth stall. But that's going to be very difficult for him to do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we see that Tabbune, did get a little bit unlucky with the 3 Dramoth draw. He's also got the Urim Giant, the Yenneroth, 2
Oh, yeah,
Yenneroths,
and that's going
and
to
a
be the end
War
of the game.
Party. And he's just sitting all on high cost cards, and that's just not what he was looking for that match. And it looks like Bolas was able to come away with the victory.
Right. We did see, unfortunately, that stockpile of Dramoths, but I mean, that is the point behind the deck, so that being War Party. But I'm going to go ahead and I think throw it back to both of our players here and see what they think about match number 1.
Okay.
Alright, folks, and we're back here after match number 1. A pretty quick one as Bolas takes down Tab here. And I guess we'll start with, well, I'm going to start with Bolas here. Going up against the Viking Crusader, did you have any ideas as to how to combat what Tab threw out?
I just had to kill him really quick because
Right.
I knew that he would probably be running War Party and would kill me in the end game. And I also knew that he would have freeze, so I tried to keep my units back until I was able to kill him.
Right, we didn't notice that with the big eater in that early stages here. You got him pretty big pretty quickly, which was, I think, really what helped turn that match in your favor. But yeah, Tab, you didn't really have a lot of answers for that, did you?
Did I have anything at all?
I mean, listen, I'm trying to give you the
I mean,
benefit here. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
Tab.
I mean, looking at my hand, I mean, I can't really do anything. It's even my worst matchup, anyways.
right,
Like Magic Eater decks are the worst.
right.
Well, Tab.
Oh, come
What
on.
what were the disadvantages of the hand that you ended up drawing that game?
What are the disadvantages? I mean, I literally can't play anything.
True. He had 3 Dreadlocks here, but I mean,
Also,
like,
also,
Probably not.
to be fair, like my deck doesn't really have answers for Magic Eater decks.
Freeze is a great answer, though.
yeah, you do have the
I
fringe
mean,
pillars.
if he lets me freeze the damn thing, I guess.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly a big way to start off this casting conflicts here. Do you guys have anything to say before we jump into match number 2?
Good game and good future game.
Yeah, good game.
I just have nothing. That was a pretty short one, so I'm just trying to fill the time here. Anyway, folks, let's go ahead and take you into match number 2, starting right now.
Okay.
Alright, folks, and coming into match number 2 now, we've got Tab rocking the Warlock Crusader, and I think I have an idea of what he is running here, up against, of course, that same Magic Eater deck from Bolas. And I'm picking up vibes of Crusader Warlock Awakening. Vase, any thoughts on how this matchup is going to go for Tab?
All right. You think it's Awakening? So actually, I cannot see what.
Oh, alright, yeah. Well, I mean, we do see the Saurus in hand, we do see 2 flying books, a right as well, so all tools that pretty much point to Awakening. And he'll start off with the Lumberjack here, Bolas not being able to do anything into turn 2 except for the Wizard on turn 3. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this is an Awakened deck. So I mean, do you think this matchup works better for Tab here? Oh, and I lost everything. There you go, Mason. You're back.
Hello.
Yeah. You good? I lost everything for a second there too.
Yeah, I have rejoined
It's
the
okay. We're
the
gonna keep
voice
going.
chat.
Do you see the screen now? Are you better?
I do see the screen. I see Tabbune is running the Warlock Crusaders. Will you tell me what factions Bolus is running? Because I actually cannot see that.
He still has the Warlock Ninja from the last game here. We're going to see Bolas set up a ambush wizard in the front there, and of course dealing a bit of chip
Okay.
damage. Tab is rocking the Awakening aspect. I mean, we do see Headmaster and right. Unfortunately, there's no way for him to deal with that stealth wizard. I don't know if Tab's calling it quits here, but I want to see if he can do something. He can write for the books for more draw, potentially, for some kind of burn, like a flamestorm, but even then it doesn't really help him here.
Right. Well, that was a very powerful yet unexpected play from Bolus, and I do not see a counter to hit that cloaked wizard right now from Tabbune.
Right. I mean, we can see, yeah, I think he's going to go for the right books. Does pull a Sunflower, although it doesn't really help him. I think he's just going to put Lumberjack up to guard. Right? Or not even.
Right, and I'm not sure that the Sunflower was a good play. I think we're just going to see the Darkbender step up and take out that Sunflower, with the Wizard taking out some of the, probably a Lumberjack, perhaps. But I think we're going to see Bolus do some cleanup on this turn.
Cleanup,
And
or
I think
potentially, oh, we're going to back up for the Sunflower removal.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so not the way I was expecting here, but we're going to see
Yeah.
dual Kunoichis and a pass back to Tab. Alright, kind of interesting. We do see a way for Tab to remove the Wizard. Obviously, he's got Bolt in hand, so that isn't a problem. I think his problem is going to be whether or not these Kunoichis are going to smack for big damage, plus Darkbender. Again, very difficult to out, especially in Tab's case. He's got no Headwoods. He's got no Mass Burn. It's going to be tricky for him, I think.
Right. So we see a lot of stealth from Bolus. what advantage do you think that he is trying to gain from that, Red?
I think he's trying to get in close to the castle, close enough to deal some potentially OTK-based damage. With cards like Multi-Strike, Shadow Katana, Ambush, there's a whole lot of ninja spells that can just do an insane amount of damage for a pretty cheap cost. And we do find that Tab is going to eliminate one of those Kunoichis. I have a feeling the other one's going to be behind that top lumberjack, so it's going to be able to do some castle damage potentially.
Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think as it just freezes up on me for a second. Yep, there we go. And of course, I think, did Darkbender trade that bottom lumberjack, or did a lumberjack trade? I think a lumberjack trade.
The lumberjack traded, and it just looks like Bolas is really going for aggression right here, and we can see that from the flame shield.
Not on castle,
Bolas.
Though,
This is right. Not yet. I think he's about to start going for the castle. But I think this is a deck that, he's trying to bide his time a little bit. But unfortunately for him, Tabbune has a lot of good late game cards right now.
Triple Craxus followed up by a Sentry Golem Headmaster combination. Unfortunately, Headless is not going to be the pull that Tab wanted, even though it will deal some damage to Darkbender. The Flame Shield does counter that, as you see there. So Bolas, in the meantime, I think what he's got to do, though, is find a way to finish off Tab's castle. If he gives Tab, longer turn, like, if he keeps him in this game more, there's a greater chance that things are going to become problematic here. And a Dissipate on the Mordok, I'm not sure I agree with. All right.
Well, and you see that there's the Hands of the Saint in Tabbune's hand.
Right.
So with one card left in Bolas's hand, I'm not feeling very strong about his position right here, honestly.
Oh, and there we see a big Dragon's Fire for Tab. I think if I was Tab here, I would set up the Sentry Golem and just pass the turn back. Masuda's damage can be repaired easily with the Hands of the Saint, and with Golem, you're building up a big unit, potentially with Saurus. Yeah, we are going to see a Golem come in.
Yep, and we see that is what Tabbune decides to do.
I'm interested, though, to see that he blocked with it, so he's going to be taking the Masuda damage.
Right. I'm not sure that I agree with the positioning of the Sentry Golem. I do think that playing that card was correct, but
well, actually,
I do not think that it was...
No, I see what he was going for here. I do see. The Dragon's Fire is going to clear the way here for, of course, a Masuda takedown.
Okay.
And then we get a big Golem on phase. This might actually turn the game around in Tab's favor. This might end it.
Well, I think this game is over in favor of Tabbune, and I don't think that the positioning of the Sentry Golem was the deciding factor. I just think the number of cards in his hand, I think that he had the victory.
Well, certainly. It did help, though, that I guess the Golem's deflect is very useful. Of course, he can't be burned off by those other pesky spells, so it just makes the more sense for that to work. But anyway, with that being said, as I watch Tab open the pack, let's go ahead and take it back to both players here and see how they're feeling after a match number 2. Alright, folks, and we're back after a pretty drawn-out match number 2, a pretty well-fought one, if I do say so myself. Tab bringing in the Awakening combo here. Tab, can you explain to us the mentality behind choosing Yellow-Red Awakening to combat what Bolas brought to the table?
I mean, from what I saw last match, right, he's playing a lot of range unit, magic eater units that are vulnerable to burn, so I want to bring a direct damage deck, control decks, which the best one is Awaken.
Right. That, options like Headwood, Dragon's Fire, all very useful.
You just run less jank than under the red-yellow control decks like, Last Will. Last Will runs so many janky cards, it's bad. No.
So, Bolas, is there a specific turn that you can point towards where you might have started to fall behind a little bit? Like maybe a play that Tabbune made that you were a little bit worried about, that you started to fall behind on?
Honestly, my deck does not worry about the other player. It's all about the cards I drew. And when I had a Demonic Rage in hand, and that was like the last card I had, and I would only get him down to 1 health. I knew that it was pretty much over for me.
So kind of
I
like
just
you were
had
hoping to end with that. Like
I was just
demonic
hoping to
rage.
grab one more stealth unit or buff just to get it above 12 to get to like he was at like 13 health, and I had the 6 power guy. I would have put the demonic rage on him, but I didn't draw the right cards.
So is there a specific card that you would have liked to have drawn that you didn't see?
Any of the buffs, like was that flame shield or ambush, any of them, or maybe even another demonic rage, that would have worked. Or
All right,
just countless.
Red.
What's up? I'm not a player who's taking questions, but what's up?
Do you have any further questions?
I mean, kind of Bolas answered what I was gonna imagine, or at least like what was he kind of prepared to deal with when he saw yellow red, and he kind of mentioned that what like you don't really worry about what the other player is doing. Your deck is more of just hit the castle and go for a finishing blow. I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I really worry about is kind of like freeze, like when he was playing the first time, because that can just slow down my deck so much that it just stops it to the point where he outvalues my creature.
Right. Makes sense. So, I don't have anything though further
Oh, by
to
the
add
way.
on to that. Oh,
By the way, last thing that ambush on the mage wizard that was so big print.
yeah, that was probably one of the stronger plays, because I've seen this deck, or at least you've piloted it a few times.
Yeah, the positioning is
That's-
so good, man.
That's one of the cool parts of it. You just play the ambush on a wizard, and then your opponent can't do anything, and he knows exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Surprised maybe
Yeah,
we
So
don't see that
Bol-
more.
so Bolas.
I don't have a unit that can reveal it, right?
Yeah.
Bolas,
That's why I
in the deck
don't
that
like
you were
it.
playing, are there any specific factions that you are worried about if you see?
I would say blue mostly because stuff like Lich or
Of the
Frost
freeze,
Giant,
you're
or anything
right.
that like randomly freezes something when I have it stealth.
Mhm.
Because usually when I have it stealth, it's like game over. But then
Yeah.
if they're able to freeze it, I'm done.
Are you worried about freezing pillar or the freezing aura?
Not as much because that's stuff
Mhm.
that, well, kind of, because they can do that on center square where my unit would be hiding. But mostly it's just like the random freeze, because then even if they have no idea where my unit is, they're like, oh, there it is, and you can't use it for a turn, and then that stops me.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that was a very good match, and I think I'm looking
good
forward
match.
to the. I'm looking forward to the third game.
Yeah, game 3, of course.
Alrighty.
Tab bringing back the War Party deck, and we'll see if whoever takes
No,
the
I'm
win.
playing Awaken, right?
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get to that third match.
To get my voice working.
All right, folks,
Okay.
game number 3 underway here, and of course, Tab rocking the War Party once again here. Bolas rocking the same colors, though, and that's kind of curious to me. Do you think we're going to see a mirror matchup here, Vesa?
You know, I think that there's a good chance Bolas has chosen the same deck, but I will tell you right now that I like Tabbune's opening hand a lot better than the first match with his War Party.
Right, we're seeing more useful tools, of course, Pillar, Spear Strike, Divine Knowledge, all great resources to get him some cards, install the game. Here's Sunflower for, just a unit presence, which is very important for him here. We'll see if Tab goes for Sunflower, which he seems to do, and I think that is the better move here. Meanwhile, Bolas going ahead, going with that Priest. I don't know if Bolas might have the edge here, because, if he just spams these units down into his face, we could see a quick end.
Exactly. And I think that Bolas is trying to be very aggressive right here, and I think that is the correct play for him to make.
Especially against War Party.
Especially against War Party. So we're going to see the Sunflower doesn't really have a great play, and then we're going to see a second one come down right here.
Just to avoid
But
taking more damage, honestly. I mean, we've got Priest and Books, which are both three attack power units. And of course, Lumberjack doing
mhm.
its thing, chipping in the back here. I do see a way for Tab to freeze things off with the pillar to kind of negate this damage. But even then, it's still... Oh, and there's going to be a cloak.
Oh, yep, there it is. And I was about to ask you if you agreed with the priest attacking the sunflower, but now that we see the cloak come down, that kind of clears things up for us as commentators. That seems like a very strong play to me, in my opinion.
Well, we are going to see a freezing pillar come down, freezing off Books and Priest now. So kind of creating a mini little freeze loop here. That's going to be difficult for Bolas to get around, especially without the proper tools. I'm thinking maybe a Lightning Blade would clear things up, but looks like you're going to go for Books and Ice Weaving instead. Meanwhile, Lumberjack continuing to do some good work for him, though.
Right, and just looking at Tabune's next play, he's going to be at 5 gold. He can't play the Tyrannosaur. I don't see a lot of good plays for Tabune at this turn.
In this present moment, yeah. I mean, currently what I do think Tab has is, in terms of an advantage here, though, is just primarily cards and resources. I mean, Bolas is drawing more with Books and whatnot, but he's using them more aggressively than Tab here, and we're seeing him get caught up in these freezing traps, which may not work out too well for him. Oh, we're gonna see Books collide with the pillars there, so that takes that out. Pillar of Bolas's, well, Bolas still has his own pillar. I need to fix that English there. Will, of course, go down, freezing up the cultist. That's very nice. So, of course, that cultist is going to be pretty much taken out of the play for now. And I think Tab's
Now,
only
one
two
thing we
fears.
do see
T-Rex.
is normally versus Vikings, you see a little bit more maybe social distancing of units. But versus War Party, you know that you're kind of going against a different type of Vikings deck. How important, Red, do you think is social distancing versus a War Party deck?
Maybe, okay, because the thing with that is, I do think Lightning Blade can still appear in War Party decks, although, you know, more limited than you would in a regular Viking deck. I do think it's of course, caution. Like, you should be aware that Lightning Blade exists, and
Mhm.
it does carry big potentials to clean up at least these boards like this. So I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty important to kind of keep that social distance, if you will. Even, I mean, that just goes for any Viking deck, though, not just War Party, but any Viking deck. You know, 'cause you
Right.
never know where Chain is going to
And we
pop
see
up.
the Yarum Giant come from Tribune. So you have to assume that any War Party deck is going to run that card. But before they can reach War Party distance or 9 gold, would you say that it's a little bit safer to not social distance against War Party before 9 gold?
That is a tricky one, because of course we've seen Yarum bounce around a lot lately between inclusion and non-inclusion, right? Non-inclusion, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the right English. So it's pretty. I mean, I would say, like I said, social distance with Vikings at all times. Just because, you know, it might be a War Party, or, you know, a such and such deck that doesn't primarily run Chain, you should still be cautious that, you know, a Chain like Lightning Blade or Yarm will clean things up here. And we're actually going to see Tab kind of bounce back in the game a little bit here, in my opinion here. I would recommend playing the Lumberjack beforehand. Yep, I would go ahead. No, Tab, you're doing it the wrong order, buddy. Oh, and he loses the Yarm off of the Frozen Storm. Uh-oh. So, okay, I can still see ways for Tab to bounce back here. He's got T-Rex, he's got the War Party in hand. If he makes it to turn 9, he can do another General stall. Gonna see Vortex from Bolas to pull Lumberjack into the Freezing Pillar. I like that a lot. He's cutting off more of Tab's spawn potential here. I mean, we've seen him cut off a couple, and that's been, I think, a big part of this game lately. Just cutting off the spawn points for each player's, not or really for Tab's side, not for each, but cutting it off for Tab, making positioning a whole lot more difficult for him.
Right, and we're really seeing the effectiveness of freeze in this game,
Right.
and kind of the player that's using it the most effective might come out as the victor here.
And that currently seems to be Bolas. He's got that Cloak of Ice books followed up with the Pillar above, so he's got a lot of tabbed units neutralized, not able to do a whole lot of cleanup here, and that's going to work out in his benefit a whole lot. However, now that we're moving into turn 9, if Bolas can't really get rid of Tab's castle at this point, we're going to see some Generoth stall.
Now, Red, what's your opinion about the freeze mechanic? Do you think that it is balanced, or do you think that
balanced in certain regards?
Possibly,
that's my comment on that. I will say,
could you elaborate a little bit?
There are instances like, freeze aura with things like cloak and pillar, which most I think players will regard as being very not healthy for the game. However, with like cards like Yenaroth, Frozen Storm, Frost Giant, I do still think freeze has some benefits, but freeze aura is a different story. Freeze aura is nasty, but anyway.
So, in your opinion, Yenaroth is balanced, but what is it? Cloak of Ice?
Cloak of Ice,
not balanced.
Pillar, maybe not so much here. And we're going to see at least Tab hopefully bring down the Yenaroth. I would like to see him do that. Come on, drop the Yenaroth, baby. Drop it. I mean, you kind of have to. I don't really see another play. Oh, doesn't the trade.
What do you think about the positioning of that Yenaroth after he dropped it, Red?
Makes sense.
Do you agree? Agree? Okay.
I will say it makes sense because he's trying to avoid that Cloak of Ice book. Although it doesn't matter, Lich just comes out and says hello. And I mean, it's getting more and more difficult for Tab to even play units and play cards here because everything that he's doing is getting frozen off. I mean, the Lich, the Pillar, the Cloak, all the freeze going on at the most crucial time, and it's just not working out to Tab's
right,
favor.
but we see that war party. Just hanging out in his hand, and he finally decides that this is the time to drop it.
I mean, it is. It's going to do some decent cleanup here. You remove one of those big threats like we talked about in the cloaked books. Getting rid of that opens you up to free a whole lot more of your units here, which, I mean, hopefully we'll see happen. I mean, we do see a Dremob, we do see a T-Rex. Maybe the Fear Aura starts pushing these units up and away from the Freeze Aura, so those units will also get freed. I do like Taz's play of the War Party, even though it does put him at a disadvantage in terms of the cards. I mean, Bolas has the potential here to come in with like a big lightning blade, perhaps. I don't know if he's got it in the deck.
Yeah, and Bolas is sitting at 3 cards, which that makes the War Party play a little bit safer. At the time that War Party was played, Bolas had 2 cards. So it just kind of comes down to how many units he's running and what luck that Bolas has had as far as big units. But this War Party could actually turn into a pretty big game changer for Tabbune.
Right. We will see a second Cloak of Ice, though, neutralizing both the Dremoth and the Cultist. Frost Giant going to continue to wreak havoc on the castle here. I think the only units that Tab will be able to use in this next turn are going to be the Sunflower and the Yenaroth up top there. And Yenaroth does push back the Giant, so I'm a little nervous for Tab here. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, Tab can do a little bit of board clear here. Wind Mage going to be a nice equalizer to push things back. I do like that.
I was about to say, I do not think that Tab's in a bad spot right here. I think this is a complicated game.
It's a battle of freeze, honestly. That's what we are seeing here. I think after
Right.
looking at more of Bolas's deck choices, or card choices, excuse me, with things like Explorer, the Frost Giant, I think this is a more dedicated freeze deck than we're giving it credit for. We're kind of saying that it is a War Party deck, but I just don't think that's the correct analogy here. This is a freeze deck from Bolas.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And we are going to see now
Now,
Wind Mage come out, followed by the Wizard, which I think should be, yep, right there. So we are going to see Tab work to get rid of this pillar, this cloak, Dwarf Paladin, excuse me. But we will see if Bolas can bring any more freeze to the table, which we know he's probably got.
now, what's kind of interesting about this game is we're seeing a style of gameplay that isn't necessarily just play units and attack the castle. We're seeing two decks that actually kind of want to stay back a little bit and at times play defense.
Right.
And kind of it's more of a finesse. Both of these decks are more of a finesse style of trying to win a game.
You are absolutely right there. And we will see an Arbiter come out from Bolas, although, I mean, maybe not as strong on the heal department with that Arbiter, but definitely does clear the big threat on Tab's board, which was the Wizard. Of course, that could do a nice little tag team with the Wind Mage to, of course, kill off that Dwarf Paladin, although we will not see that happen, at least this turn anyway. Looks like we are going to probably get Wind Mage followed up by a second Wind Mage, at least that's my opinion. We'll see if Tab decides to bolt Yenneroth down. I think, okay, he doesn't decide to do that. I think he plays the Wind Mage here.
No.
Actually, no, he doesn't.
Red, would you agree that you think that Tab has the advantage right here?
Somewhat. I do think that if Tab pulls another one of his healings, I think the hands is the one that he's running in here. I think if he pulls that, that's going to be the big equalizer here, and that might give him the bigger edge. The problem is he just needs some kind of big chomp from the castle, which he's just not getting to at this point. And a freezing pillar down from that Frost Giant is not going to make things any easier for him. Yeah, trying to see. I think he does have a bit of a ways to clean up the game. Not the game, not the board. I mean, I think
at 12 health.
Oh, and there he is.
Yeah, there's the hands of the Saint. But even without that, I think that I'm seeing Tab. Even without the 10 castle health gain, I think that I'm seeing an advantage for Tab right here.
Right. I couldn't agree more with you. I think once Tab removes a lot of this freeze that Bolas has got on the board for him, I mean, like, I could see him removing the pillar next turn. He gets rid of the Paladin next turn. He's got all of his units a bit more free, a bit more, able to move. And if Bolas can't put the pressure on, if he can't, like, send any big bodies Tab's way, might be over. Might be over.
So, what would it take for Bolas to actually come through on this game and become a victor, in your opinion, Red? Just big units? Big
units. I want to see big units out of him. I mean, the Frost Giants are going to kind of provide that as, 4/7 bodies. But I think he needs, like, a bigger swing than just 4 damage, Like, he needs something like a Yenneroth or a Dremoth hit to really just smack down a big amount of damage to which Tab can't recover from. Like, I mean, this turn, we're going to see Tab bring a lot of his units back into the game here. He removes the Dwarf Paladin, which gives him back the Cultist and Dremoth. He's going to probably remove that Freezing Pillar, which frees the Yenneroth and the Shaman. He can play probably Kraxus, maybe gets Lich out to freeze both of these Frost Giants.
If you were Tab, would you just go ahead and War Party, hoping to keep both of your Kraxuses, or is that too risky of a play?
I think it's too risky
to discard the hands of the Saint.
I think it's too risky now. You want to get big value, the max value out of Hands of the Saint here. I'm surprised he didn't Lich, though, to kind of at least give him an opportunity to kind of freeze off the Giants to kind of prevent him from taking more damage, to not sort of negate the hands here. Because, I mean, playing Lich, you have a chance of freezing off the Liches in the back, true, but yeah, this is what I'm nervous about. Lightning Blade comes in and cleans up a lot of this board. And that's the game ender that I wanted
Yeah.
Bolas to play, Lightning Blade, or some big
I would
swing.
have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen Tabbune push on the previous turn a lot more than what he did.
Right, right, and I do think that Tab only runs, I believe, 2 of the Hands of the Saint, so his last heals are gone. He can probably try to make a big push here, but I don't think he's going to be able to both clear off these giants and make it to the castle within the few turns he's given, or the few turns he's got. I think we're going to try and see him put up a fight, though, at least, hopefully.
I do not think this game is over.
It isn't. It is not. Krax is going to come in, potentially draw some more units here, like Dremoth. I forgot Dremoth is in the deck.
Here we go. Yep.
Dremoth is in the deck here. Kraxus comes out, hits Frost Giant again. That's going to be more cards, potentially more Dremoths. No, books. But still, brings out the Dremoth. Going to defend castle there, right? Put the books up.
How important is this quick decision making for Tabbune for the War Party deck? If you're playing a deck like this, you have to be willing to just throw your cards out there and make quick decisions in order to get the maximum value and not time out.
Right. Right. I do think it's very important here. We almost saw it. I mean, the clock almost bit Tab in the ass.
You're right.
Not being able to play all of his cards in time. I do think he made the right choices here. He did play both of the books, which is needed. He got the Dremoth out. Did all that Kraxus trading, which was good. And I think now we might see Bolas struggle here to defend. He's got a Paladin and 3 Liches. One of which, if the Lich trades... there's another Hand of the Saint that I didn't think Tab ran in this deck.
Yeah. Well...
Yeah, Bolas is in trouble.
I think that's going to seal the deal, honestly.
Has to.
I think that Tabbune has far too much of an advantage in this game. I don't see Bolas coming back.
Neither do I. Tower of Winter goes down, which is fine, but there's no frozen targets except for the wizard. You could have done the wizard trade, actually, with that. But, I mean, yeah, we're going to see Hand of the Saint go down, right? Yep, there it goes. He can draw more off of these Lich kills. He can freeze off the other 2. And, yeah, we're going to see the big punch that War Party can bring. Dremoth moves up. Yenneroth comes up. I believe the second Dremoth on the back is going to move up as well. Maybe not so sure about the T-Rex, because I don't know where he's going to be sending things. Dremoth does have Stalwart after all, so he can't really be pushed. But yeah, this is what Tab needed.
We've seen the effectiveness of a War Party deck. What decks might be good against a War Party deck?
I mean, you're probably going to want decks that just beat down the castle in a manner that's just so quick and so effective. I mean, we saw it worked well for Bolas in the first game. Granted, Tab did brick a couple of chunky resources, but that effectively brings the game where you want it to. If he wasn't aggressive, I think Tab would have been able to bounce back in that first game. But you saw he just kept on the pressure, kept smacking the face, didn't really give Tab the room to play any other card, and that was his downfall. Ooh.
Right. So definitely aggressiveness works well. Oh, and we're seeing a lot of freeze here. Bolas is going to give up a fight on this game.
He's not going to go down without fighting. The important thing to note is that
Absolutely
he is running
not.
on triple church right now, which can very well keep his castle going for a few extra turns if not dealt with properly. I think what Tab should be doing here is setting up a Yarm in some capacity. I think that's going to be his most effective play here because it's going to do a lot of Thunderstrike chain damage no matter how you look at it. I'm kind of surprised he didn't actually go ahead and take the opportunity to do that in that turn instead of doing the Dremoth play to take out the Freezing Pillar. I'm surprised he didn't go ahead and chain a bunch of damage to these, the entirety of the board here. It would have cleared the board.
Right, absolutely. So that might have been a missed opportunity for him. But it's something that he needs to go ahead and set up as soon as he can.
Yeah, he needs to kind of, forget about that small mistake. He's going to push in Yarm with this T-Rex here, kind of be aggressive anyway with it, and just hope that Bolas isn't carrying more potential freeze. I mean, Frozen Storm, Cloak.
Right now, Bolas cannot summon any unit because he is spawn blocked.
Pretty much, yeah. You have a point there. He is.
Now he can move. He can move up his Lich.
But doesn't do him a whole lot.
To
It'll
summon a
freeze
unit.
off the other Lich too.
Right, precisely.
I mean, I think what he should do though is at least move the Lich to free it before it creates more Thunderstrike. Even if you're not going to trade with it or do something with it, you have to get it out of that spot. But I mean, going into this point, I mean, we all know who's coming out on top at this point.
Right, exactly.
I will say though, it's been a crazy game. Absolutely crazy game.
It has been, right, yeah. How do you feel about the War Party matchup versus a more mid-range deck, meaning a deck that maybe isn't as aggressive as, a deck that runs a bunch of low-cost cards, but a deck that runs, a good balance of beginning, medium, and end-game cards? How would you think that a War Party deck...
Hard to really say and put my, put my money on, because both decks can do a couple of interesting things that, I'm not so sure. I guess it really depends on how both of the decks play. I mean, that's kind of my honest opinion there, because you saw, like, with War Party, they have a big chance to just brick. However, if mid-range allows War Party to fall into the later game slots, I think mid-range will get slaughtered by the amount of big bodies that War Party throws at them. So it's really a back and forth. Because, like you said, mid-range carries a wide variety of options. But, if they don't pull the right ones, it could lead to a slaughter. But anyway, going back, we do see Bolas was actually able to hold off the Yarm with the Cloak of Ice and the Arctic Explorer. Although Dremoth beaming down on Castle does not look like, I don't think that's going to do him a whole lot of good. Oh, and Yarm goes there, which I don't know if I agree with. Actually, maybe I do.
Yeah, well... It kept the Craxus alive, and that's going to keep it frozen.
Yeah.
But the Dremoth is going to end the game.
Yeah, no matter how you look at it, the one sudden death damage will tick. I don't know if the churches are going to be able to get heals off before sudden death ticks. I would like them to place the Freezing Pillar above the Craxus, maybe, as a precaution. Or Frozen Storm. However you want to take it, Tab. It's your game, not mine. And yeah, I think the game just ended there. Did the Wizard come up and do... Oh yeah, the Wizard dealt the final damage. Yeah. So overall, probably one of the crazier matches we could see out of a War Party deck. I mean, it was a battle of freeze, essentially.
Yeah, that was just absolutely... It was a good game. And I would agree with you that the main feature of that game was freeze. And who used freeze the most effectively.
Right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take it back to both of our players here and seeing how they're feeling after a pretty long match number 3. Alright folks, and we're back after match number 3. Pretty long and pretty intense, as it seemed to be a battle between freeze here for both players. I guess we'll start with Bolas in terms of maybe what was his mentality in taking what I assumed to be was a freeze deck against War Party. Were you hoping to just kind of freeze him off to the point where he couldn't effectively do anything with War Party?
So yeah, my freeze deck is not my strongest deck, and I just wanted. At first, I was thinking like if he's playing big things, maybe I might as well just like make a wall around myself so that he can't kill me. But then I almost killed him pretty soon on when I was like, oh my god, he's at 5 life, and I went kind of aggressive, and I kind of used up a bunch of my auras and stuff that I probably should have been saving for like the wall strategy. And then in the late game, I would say my mistake was I was almost at that spot when I had a wall, and he couldn't really do anything. But my mistake was when I played my Lich, when I like moved him up and out of like his protected area. That was where he could be killed, and then they froze my Explorer dude, which had the aura on it. So then he couldn't move, and I'm like, oh, that just messes me up for the next turn. And
Right.
that's yeah.
It kind of
So-
became a battle or at least in my eyes, where who really gained control of the opponent's spawn. I mean, we saw you did that early on in the opening stages. Like you said, you were a bit more aggressive. You used your auras to kind of block him from getting things out. But then he kind of did the same thing to you, turned it around to where the freeze kind of negated your spawn points, or at least that's just what I saw. I think why. Do you carry more than one lightning blade in that deck? Because we saw it come
I
out and
have-
deliver a big
I have
blow.
2.
But okay, you do have
Yeah,
2.
usually I rely on the Yarhim Giants, which I only drew one of, which was really late game, which usually doesn't happen. Usually I get like closer, but it's all about the draw.
Right, right. And Tab, how are you feeling after match 3?
Yeah, I mean, it was about the draw too. I was a bit lucky to draw my healing cards.
I didn't
Right
know.
on
I
time.
thought you
Like-
ran 2 hands at the same, not 3.
I was I'm experimenting with 3 right now.
I mean, it certainly turned out better
Like,
for you in
think
that
about it.
case.
Yeah, I mean, the main problem with this deck is just staying alive, right? Hence, it's like +1 turn.
So, other than War Party tab, what card would you point to that might have helped you out the most during that game?
Hands of the Saint, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's fair. That is certainly fair.
Yeah.
What about Dramoth?
Oh yeah,
Like how big of a role? How big of a role
top
did
decking
Dramoth?
top decking the drama in my party turn with Craxus was so lucky. And I mean, like,
It was.
He
I think
got
if you
started
didn't
on
bring
the
out the
safety.
Craxus, he might have been able to, or not the Drymoth, he might have been able to do some big damage. But who knows? Who can really say for sure? I
Yeah.
think the last question I have for Bolas in this case, we noticed that towards the end, you played a lot of buildings. I mean, we saw crumbling, we saw the church, we saw the tower. Um, I mean, do you have like a lot of buildings in that deck, or like those the only 3? Then we just ended up
So-
seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, the deck's build is to kind of just like make that wall, and then have the church and the crumbling archives to just like keep on drawing you cards and make sure you don't like die to sudden death before your opponent does. So it's a
Right.
very slow deck unless you draw the Yarhim and then blow everything up. But yeah, that's with all the buildings, and I run like 2 of the ice palace things, just because they kind of synergize. But honestly, it's not the strongest card in there.
I mean, I think if you got those when you were in the more aggressive phases of your match, you might have been able to close things out early. Because, of course, we noticed the castle was getting frozen due to things like the Cloak of Ice and the Pillar. So I do think you have the right idea with that. I mean, if it just works out to be more aggressive when you draw them, I think it'll work out better.
Yeah, definitely.
So
That's-
do you run 3 church and 3 crumbling archives?
Yes, and also 3
Okay.
was a,
Holy shit.
it-
Also 3 what?
Sometimes I get the crumbling archives to like 8 with the reinforced
Mhm.
cards, and then it just
Okay.
I usually
And,
deck
and you
myself.
also run priests?
3 priests.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other combos with church that you'd like to highlight?
It's really just the church will heal the castle so that you don't run out of life from sudden death, and it also brings up the the Crumbling Archives. That's about it.
Very good. Okay.
All right, and with that, I think I have no further questions, guys. Anything that you guys want to throw out before I close out this video?
Just good game.
Good
Yeah,
games,
I
man.
think these were two very good. This was a good match for
Two
sure.
very good games. Two very good games and one mistake, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna call my one win a mistake? Wow.
God damn it.
No, that's how my deck is supposed to perform. So
All right. Well,
God.
before we break down into a fight here, I'm gonna throw out my future self to close out the video. With that being said, folks, I hope you did enjoy this edition of Cast and Conflicts. Let us know what you thought down in the comments section below. And while you're down there, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, share with your friends, of course. Subscribe if you're new or haven't already done so. It's the best way to support us here on the channel, just by showing that you subscribed, you know, help us grow and whatnot, and we really appreciate that. But with that being said, that's going to do it for me for now. So until next time, guys, stay gaming.